welcome. I'm Sarah Shelton, market editor at Luxe Interiors Design. I'm so proud to say that Luxe is celebrating Black History Month, and we're recognizing and showcasing the work of Black artisans and makers that are inspiring us, that I'm sure will also inspire you. Today, I'm overjoyed to have Grace Lynne Haynes with us. Just looking at Grace's paintings brings a sense of joy, and having her work featured on the pages of Luxe's January-February issue, which is on newsstands right now, offers such a bright spot within the pages. Her colorful, beautiful, and bold figurative paintings will stop you in your tracks, and I cannot wait to dive into these canvases with the woman behind the brush. Hi, Grace. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for having me and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm really happy to be here and talk about my work and share a bit about my process.
We couldn't be more excited to have you on today. And Grace, I know we've been corresponding over the course of a few months, but I've been looking forward to this conversation because I think that we are going to be able to dive into some things that we necessarily couldn't, get on the pages of the magazine. But before we do that, Grace, I just thought it would be nice for you to just give a little introduction to the viewers, who you are, where you live, what you do, just the basics.
Yeah, well, hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Grace Lynne Haynes. I'm originally from California, but recently moved to New Jersey for graduate school. I'm a figurative painter, and my primary focus in my work is Black women and womanhood and femininity. And I'm also very interested in themes such as color and fashion and the way we choose to adorn ourselves. A lot of my work showcases one figure in it, and I only paint women as well. And I often like to explore themes in my work through the paint medium itself, such as textures, patterns, and how patterns can tell stories, how the pose of the figure can evoke certain emotions, and how we can explore what it means to be a woman in this century right now, where women are very empowered and have agency over their lives.
Okay, perfect. Because everything you touched on is what I would love to dive into, like the color, the women, the interior. So I'm glad that you're ready to you're game for all of that. So I'm glad you brought up the obvious, like the women in who are the subject of your paintings. You can't. I mean, you look at your portfolio, and it's these beautiful women lounging in these really beautiful spaces. And I want to know, like, who are these women? What's their narrative? I look at them and I just immediately want to know about them.
Mhm. Yeah, and so the women are often inspired by women that I've met that are in my lives and also some of my own life experiences as well. I'm really intrigued by this idea of safe space where women can find spaces where they can not have the weight of the world on their shoulders. Oftentimes, Black women were expected to be strong all the time. We're expected to carry a lot on our shoulders. So I'm really interested in the spaces where Black women can just exist and not resist. And so exploring that theme in my work in terms of what are places that we can rest, what are places that we can just exist and be ourselves, and how do those spaces look like? How do we decorate those spaces? What are the colors in those spaces? What are the various poses that we do in those spaces? These are themes that I'm interested in my work in terms of who women are behind closed doors in our own environment. And oftentimes these women are young women because because of the age that I am. I'm a young woman, so it's the experience that I relate to the most. And oftentimes it's that period of growing into your womanhood and figuring out who you are when you're in your 20s and you're figuring out your way of dressing, you're figuring out how to decorate your first apartment that you own. You're also figuring out your identity as a woman. And so that's the stage I like to talk about in my work.
That's fascinating. And I can't help but think how we're all spending so much time alone in our apartments or our homes now. And it almost like these women on the canvases, maybe you kind of feel this kinship, you're spending all this time at home and so am I. And but it is I'm glad you brought up the interiors because we're an interior design brand and I couldn't help but see these spaces with wallpaper and floral textiles and plants and art on the walls and same with the fashion element, the dresses that these women are wearing. I want to own these dresses. I want to lounge about in their wardrobe. Do you have an interest in those worlds, a creative interest in like fashion and interiors? I mean, they come up just so strongly in your work that I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, I love interior design and I also love fashion design. I do come from a commercial design background and I recently transferred to the fine art world. And I've always been interested in the way people decorate their apartments, their homes, their spaces, and specifically the way they choose to express their identity through aesthetics, whether it be the way that you wear your clothing or the way that you adorn your living room and the things that you hang up, and also how like colors say a lot about our personality in terms of what colors that we're drawn to, and what that says about who we are as people.
I'm curious, Grace, like what does your space look like? Is it full of color, like the subjects that you paint?
Yes, I'm actually moving into a new apartment this week, and I bought a few of the decorations for it. And it's interesting because in my paintings, I use a lot of pastels and pinks, which is interesting because my apartment is actually decorated in more like warm colors, like yellows and browns and greens. And I think it's because I like to, I don't want to get tired of the colors I paint. So I feel like if I'm living in them and then go into my studio and paint them, I'm like, oh, it's like an overload. So I use a different color palette in my own home space. But I do love to wear pinks and pastels colors. Like those are my favorite colors to wear.
I saw on Instagram, I saw that you had like some really colorful fashion. So, but I was curious about your apartment. Well, good luck with the move.
Thank you.
Speaking of color, another obvious, theme in your work is this just riot of beautiful color. And when we were corresponding a couple months ago, when we started working on the magazine page, you said something to me that really jumped out, and I saved it. And it's that you said that color is a spiritual experience. And I feel like I'm experiencing a color or a spiritual experience just looking at your work. And I was just wondering, what your approach and relationship is to color. Like, how do you come up with these combos, or more than just two, just like all of these colors on a canvas?
Yes, I think color has always played a significant role in my art making. I believe in color not just as an adjective, but as a verb, like a form of action, something that makes a statement. And I believe that you can tell a story in itself just through colors. Like you look at Mark Rothko and how he used color blocks to through his oil paintings to tell a story, to create an emotion. And so I'm really inspired by this idea of color being used as a form of action. I believe that color is a very spiritual experience in terms of the colors that we're drawn to naturally and how they say a lot about our psychology. And I think in terms of color, there's also like a color test. If you Google color test online, and there's this test where you pick certain colors and they can show where you are at in life based off the colors that you choose. And it's like eeringly accurate. And so I do think that colors really are related to our psychology, and also interested in the ideas of how colors shape womanhood. Oftentimes, pinks and pastel colors are associated with femininity, and darker colors are associated with masculinity. So I'm really intrigued by kind of playing on these societal stereotypes in terms of what color and gender are related to, and showing that in my work.
Okay, well, I know what I'm doing after this. I'm going to Google the color test. I'm going to take it and I'm going to send it to all my friends. That sounds really interesting. And kind of tying into color, because remember we talked about this. I know it's important in your work that you're addressing complex topics of stereotypes surrounding Black femininity, and in that there's also this relationship of light and dark and how they're associated with certain things. Can you expand on that a bit for us? Going back to the complex topics that you're addressing, and how that ties in with the colors and the Black that is on the canvas.
Yes, I think in regards to to color, a lot of times we see darker colors, specifically the color Black, as either associated with evil or darkness or things that are sinister. And so I'm really inspired to challenge these tropes in my work in terms of how we associate the color Black, and how our perception of the color Black, specifically flat, matte, pure Black, how that perception changed when it's surrounded by other colors as well. So I really want to challenge the notion in my work where both dark and light colors exist in an image, but the dark color is not associated with anything evil. It's actually the main and central focus of the painting, but it's not evil in comparison to the light.
Right. That makes sense. And it's so interesting that that's something we may not have been aware of, consciously when we see color represented in art, but
Yeah.
definitely here, I think a really important takeaway. It looks like you're in your studio now, correct? Or in an office?
Yeah, I'm in my my art studio at my graduate program.
Where are you starting the graduate program?
I just started at Rutgers University last fall and my master's, pursuing my master's in visual arts.
Oh, congratulations. Best of luck,
Mhm,
going through all of that. I'm sure that's, a really cool experience.
mhm,
Now that we're in your creative space, I'm just wondering like what it looks like. I mean, I'm so intrigued by the thought of an artist creating in
mhm.
their space. What does that look like for you? Are you, blaring music? Is it quiet? Or is there a candle burning? Are you up late at night, early in the morning? Just curious kind of what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so I'm a night owl. My creativity often comes at night because I feel like it's quiet and the world is falling asleep, and I feel like that's when my creativity comes alive. But lately, I've been waking up early because I feel like it's also inspiring to be up before the world is up. So I'm really like my creativity comes around when kind of like the world is at sleep. But in regards to my studio, I think oftentimes I have lots of books in my studio. I do love since they like bring out that creativity, like being able to activate your physical senses. So sometimes I put on incense or I may burn sage. A lot of my work is plastered over the wall. I have my printer as well, and I also often have like a mood board in terms of images that inspire me, whether they're from magazine cutouts or from other artists. And I like to plaster that around as well. I often have different collectibles. Like I like to collect Essence magazines and Jet magazines, and I like to hang that over my work as well because those magazines are about Black womanhood as well. And so it's really just a space where I feel like everything that inspires me creatively exists, whether it's books, it's magazines, it's other artwork that I've collected. And oftentimes it's a little messy, not too messy. I like to call it an organized clutter. I like it to look worked in,
Right.
but I don't like it to be too messy to the point where it's like I don't know where things are. But overall, I would say it's just like a creative haven for me, a creative space where everything that relates to my practice can exist.
Wow. Well, I would love to get a studio tour, when it's safe to be out and about. It sounds like a really cool space to work in. I'm just so curious, someone who's so creative, what you're doing to stay inspired and creative.
Yeah, so it has been a little bit of a challenge with COVID. I would say when COVID first started, I felt like, oh, I don't know what to do. I feel kind of stuck. But as the pandemic continued on, I was like, okay, I can't stay stuck. I have to find new ways to stay creative. And so I do think that now that things are opening up, I have been going back to galleries and museums again, just to remind myself of where the work goes once it's out of the studio. Because sometimes you get kind of
Yeah.
caught up in your studio, you forget that it goes out into the world. Daily walks definitely keep me sane. Also, make sure that I'm engaging with people intentionally, whether it be through Zoom or catching up with my friends and talking about art and having discussions. Also, reading books have definitely kept me sane and inspired. And I would say watching artist talks. There's so many Instagram lives now that are going on that you can kind of catch in, or so many artists talking about their work online.
That brings me to a question I was excited to ask, like what's next?
Yes, so I'm very excited, especially now that I'm in graduate school. I'll be doing the Armory Art Fair in New York City. Hopefully, it'll be in person. A two-person show with my gallery, Loose Gallery in Italy. And so I'm very excited. So I'm prepping for that as well. And I'm doing a new series where it explores multiple figures in one painting. And I'm also focusing specifically on young Black teenage girls in my work and ideas around dance. And so I'm really excited to explore this new series of work where I'm painting multiple figures in one painting and exploring the relationships with these figures with one another and how I can portray the figures um, to make them look even younger than the way they look now, and also exploring fashion and the relationship with dance, and also spaces where young Black girls come together to simply exist and be and not resist.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, we can't wait to see all of those things come to the surface. And I can't wait to see also how you work multiple figures onto a canvas. I think that's going to be really exciting, to watch that trajectory. And I'm sure it will be a beautiful accomplishment. Well, Grace, this has been so lovely to catch up with you and just get a peek inside of your really beautiful and creative world. We cannot wait to see what's next. And I suggest all of you follow along on Grace's Instagram, so we can keep tabs on these amazing exhibits and projects that you have in the works. And until then, Grace, this was really fun. Thank you so much.
excited to be here today with renowned Chicago designer Amy Kartheiser and Chef Guerrero of Dacor. And we are here to learn a little more about Dacor and all its offerings. And I cannot wait because Chef is going to show us how to make a delicious dish. I wish I could be there to taste it in person, but I think it's great to have the inspiration no matter what. And I'd love to start with talking to Chef about Dacor's background and its offerings, and I know it has a long history. Chef,
Absolutely.
yeah, could you tell me what it's all about and what you're making today?
Of course, yeah. So we're an American luxury home appliance brand. We're based out of Southern California. We're founded over 50 years ago. And today we're going to be making two very special recipes. First one's going to be off of our 36 induction cooktop. The second recipe, we're going to be using our 48-inch dual fuel steam range. And we're going to be making some rice. So the first recipe is a shrimp recipe. The second one's rice. And the cooktop is going to do all the thinking for us.
Thank you so much. And I'd love to talk to Amy because I know your clients are cooking at home more than ever, and people are really focusing on their kitchens right now. And I'd love to hear about what your clients are looking for.
Yeah, I'd say cooking has kind of turned into like a family event, where it used to kind of be years ago, maybe the mom was in the kitchen getting all the meals ready for everyone, or at least just having dinner set out at dinner time. I find that, people are home more. And so the kitchen is becoming a place that the family is gathering a lot more. And therefore, they're kind of looking at how they want this kitchen to work as a family. And then also when they think about for entertaining purposes as well. So I think the kitchen setup, at least for all of our clients, is very subjective, is very personal to how they like to live and how they like to entertain. There are some variables that I see that are coming into a lot of our clients' homes, but maybe the setup is a little differently. Like wet bars are huge now. So maybe that's in the case of having a butler's pantry off the kitchen, or some of them literally want a wide open space in the kitchen so that they can use that for serving beverages or use it as a place to serve like a buffet dinner, that they've got an extra space set out. So that's been a pretty big thing. Islands have always been big, but I think they're getting bigger and in size, bigger too. So some love it when their guests or their family could come and sit and eat at the island, but other people love to use it for entertaining purposes, kind of like Chef has set out right now. He's got all of his prep work on the island. So a lot of them, as they're cooking together, use the island for prep work, or they use it to set up all the food after everything has been prepared for their guests. So I think those are two of the biggest things. The third biggest thing I'm seeing is that the kitchen is becoming a continuation of the living space. And it's not just this kitchen that you cook in and then you kind of close it all off. As I said, people are gathering more in the kitchen and cooking more in the kitchen. So it's not just utilitarian. It actually has some great aspects of how they want to live and how they want their kitchen to look like the rest of their house. So maybe there's more hidden appliances, and whether that's by putting paneling on the dishwasher or the refrigerator that meets the kitchen cabinets, or it's actually having some extra sliding doors built in behind the backsplash that can hide some of those pieces too. So that's kind of what we're seeing in kitchens right now.
Yeah, and Chef, as Amy was saying, it's so family oriented right now, and people are definitely looking for beauty, but ease of use. Could you speak to how Dacor really, meets those type of expectations?
Oh, absolutely. So we make cooking really easy. I have kids. I assume a lot of people have some kids at home who spend a lot of time on their tablets and on YouTube and watching food videos and things like that. So the way we integrate it is actually with the same technology. In our induction cooktop here, we're going to be cooking on something called guided cooking, and it's literally a video that takes you step by step on how to cook what you're cooking, and you don't even need to know how to cook it. We use something called our Smart Thing technology, where it's going to actually, if it needs to be on number 7, which is medium-high heat on your induction, all you have to do is press go, and it will actually put it on 7. If it needs to cook for 2 to 3 minutes, you hit 2 to 3 minute timer, and it's taking you every step of the way.
And do you think that novice cooks can easily handle these recipes? That, for example, the recipe you're making right now,
Absolutely.
do you think novice cooks can handle that?
Yeah, so as an example, and we'll show you a little bit of video here in a little bit as to exactly some close-ups, but we're going to use something called guided cooking. So on our actual unit here, our 36 induction cooktop that we have, there's an LCD screen here that actually works just like your smart tablet or your smartphone, where you're pointing and clicking and swiping, and there's a variety of recipes here. Today we're going to be cooking the shrimp with tomatoes and olives, so I'm going to get this started so it can kind of cook while we discuss the other things here, but essentially this is a video, and all I have to do is follow the video's prompts, and right now it's asking me to make sure there's a pan in the middle. I'm just going to hit the center console here. I'll set it. The next thing it tells me is to put some olive oil in here, and if you don't want to read this, you could actually just play the video and follow it.
Nice, like your own personal YouTube.
Exactly, it's your own personal YouTube. You can't mess it up because it's taking you step by step with short little videos, and you don't need to worry about, like I said, oh, well, I'm cooking this. How hot should it be, right? That's probably the hardest part for home cooks is like, well, I don't know how hot, how long. This has done it for you. With the Smart Thing technology, it already is built in. So it says number 7, turn burner on. It doesn't get easier than that. So right now this is heating up. We're using one of our features here as a virtual flame, which is essentially a light that hits the side of the pan. It's a blue light. So if you're used to seeing on a gas range that blue flame that hits your pan, we have a virtual flame. So you feel like you're cooking on an actual gas range, but it's a light, so you feel a little bit more comfortable and you know exactly how hot that pan is.
And how many ingredients are in this recipe? It seems like it's pretty simple.
It is, yeah. So the great thing about this recipe is that you can see the oil here beginning to smoke, and my timer actually went off here. It's now asking me to add some shrimp. So there's maybe a total of 6 to 7 ingredients in this recipe. So I just have some shrimp, and what I'm going to do here is just lay our shrimp out in our pan here. And the next thing is, real simple, just lay this out in our pan, nice and flat. And you always want to have a little bit of salt and pepper in your kitchen, right? So we have a little bit of salt. That's the next ingredient I'm looking at here, a little bit of pepper. And then it says just add the olives and tomatoes right over the top. So it's exactly what I'm going to do. You could dice up tomatoes if you want to, but today we're just going to add some whole tomatoes. I like grape tomatoes because they're fancy. They look nicer. And some Kalamata olives. They're also the same size as the olives, so you're eating, you don't have things that are like really big, really small. They're all pretty uniform.
Amy, do you think that your clients who are novice cooks could handle a recipe like this?
I was actually just thinking that I'd like to get this for my kids because I think that they could even handle this. It's funny, my kids actually started cooking, like, probably embarrassed to say this, but we started getting those box delivery meals because I was working late, my husband was working late, and my son became kind of the sous chef. So he would start chopping and cutting and following that. Like, this is so much better. Like, this is amazing. And actually, like I said, the families are all kind of cooking together. This is really ingenious that you can get your kids involved, at a younger age, and that they actually can go through these videos and can go through these directions and do it all themselves.
Motivation to have children.
Love it. Yeah. Exactly, right? So yeah, I love it. I think it's fabulous. And I've got a lot of clients turning to induction stovetops anyways, just because they love the energy efficiency of it. They love the proficiency of it. They love the sleeker look of it. So this is just an added bonus.
And this induction is pretty easy to use, correct, Chef? Like I
Oh,
definitely
absolutely.
older versions of different ovens, I've faced challenges before.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, I think one of the big misconceptions with induction is that it's difficult to use because it looks fancy. Also, a lot of people think induction's the same as electric. It's completely
Oh, yeah.
different. The technology behind this is much safer, it's more efficient, it's faster. The element on top here doesn't actually get hot. So the thing that differs with Dacor is that we have different grids that you can use here. So we have a flex zone, there's 9 different zones here. So let's say you have a small little pot or pan. You can choose just to cook on this one little grid here, and the rest of it remains cool. So let's say for some reason, you know, you have a smaller island or something and you need a little bit more counter space. The nice thing with the induction is you could literally put stuff on top of here and use this as additional counter space. And on Dacors, some of the other inductions, it might go off, right? You're like, oh, you have something on there. I could still cook here, so I have more surface area to cook on if I wanted to. Our shrimp here is actually finished. It just needs a little bit of deglazing of white wine is the last step. And so you saw there how easy that was. There was literally 3 steps here. So I'm just going to deglaze this with a little bit of white wine. The best thing to do is, I don't know, in my house I don't have any leftover white wine, but if you happen to have like, if you happen to have just like a little bit left over, don't throw that out. At the end of the evening, if you have red wine or white wine, it kills me when I see people like pouring it down the sink because they need to toss the bottle. No, save that little bit, and then you can use it in a great seafood dish. White wine goes great with any seafood. So that was the last step here. I'm going to plate this up real quick while we move on to the next topic.
Yeah, you know, for me personally, you know, I think one of the things I miss more than anything right now is hosting dinner parties. And, you know, the thing is, you always want to be able to socialize with people and not be stuck in the kitchen with a million things to do. I'd be curious to know about some of the other recipes that you can use with this oven and, you know, things that would be easy but impressive.
Oh, absolutely. So as you scroll through the guided cooking here, there's a variety of different recipes. I'll give you a couple examples here as to what you can make because it's not just seafood. So if I scroll through our guided cooking, some of the examples are beefsteak fajitas. We have Spanish potato omelet. We also have grilled vegetables if you want to keep it simple. Shrimp fettuccine alfredo. In these winter months, we need a little bit of pasta to warm us up. So this is just on our induction cooktop range. I'm actually going to throw in our other range here, our rice, very quickly, because in our ovens we have a very similar feature where you could basically cook a whole prime rib and not need to know how long it is. You know, holidays are coming up. How many of us have thrown a prime rib in the oven and you don't want it well done, but you have no idea when it's finished, right? So on our ovens here, I'm going to show you real quick. We're going to make rice. So our rice, essentially, this is basmati rice. Just throw some rice in our pan. This is our custom pan for our steam oven. And then we also have some white, just regular water. You could add some white wine or you can use chicken stock to this. And then a little pinch of salt. If you want to add something else, like a little dollop of butter or even some fresh herbs to this, you easily can. And this is very simple. I'm just going to throw this in our steam oven, which is off here to our left. And the great thing about our steam oven, our range here, is that if you want to steam food, there's a separate reservoir in here. You just fill it up. You don't need a completely separate plumbing line. I also love the finish on this, since I know this is for designers. This is our graphite stainless steel that's chemically bonded to the appliance itself. So it's a much higher quality grade appliance here with that graphite stainless steel. But let's take a look at this panel. I'm going to show you very quickly, just like our guided cooking. That's a tilted panel. It's a 7-inch LCD screen. And all I'm going to do here is come to our oven mode. I'm going to go to actually our left oven, because there's 2 here. There's a standard oven here. I'll go to our left option here, our special steam cook, guided steam cook. I'll hit grains, basmati rice, and watch this, I'm finished. I'm going to come back in 25 minutes, it says, and if I have this connected to my smartphone, my phone will go off, and it'll say, hey, Paul, don't forget it, you got rice in the oven. It'll also turn it off to keep it warm. So now we mentioned kids, right? We could throw that in, leave, go do what we need to do, or let's say we're picking up our kids, I was going to say from school, my kids are doing e-learning, but let's say you have soccer practice or something, you could actually preheat your oven with our smart thing technology when you're not home, so when you get home, you could save some time.
And Amy, I know you are a vegan, so healthier than the rest of us.
Try. Sometimes I get French fries and Doritos, so that doesn't
That's
always work
okay.
out.
That's okay. And so I think this would really appeal to you, this steam oven, as far as being able to cook some of these vegan recipes.
Yeah, I would actually say that the steam oven is probably the #1 appliance that across the board almost all of our clients are switching to. Just because it is so much healthier, because it already has the built-in moisture from the water. So you don't need to add in all the added oils or fats if you don't want to. It keeps all the nutritional value of the vegetables, because you're not drying them out like you would in an oven or a microwave. And it's just so much more flavorful too, and colorful. I kind of like, because I'm kind of boring and I only eat a lot of vegetables. I want them to look good too. But I'd say the steam oven has just, gotten on the radar the last couple years, and people are really replacing their microwave with it, and they just see how much better tasting their food is. What else I love is, because I am vegan and half of my family is not, if you cook in like the oven steam oven combo, that there's no transfer of like flavors or aroma, which would kind of gross me out if I kind of had a chicken flavor to my vegetables. So I just think that it's done so well. It's such a great appliance.
And, I think it is interesting because once people have a great oven, then, like you said, no one wants to use their microwave anymore. That's just like, oh, it's like your standards get that much higher.
Yeah, you almost don't know what you're missing until you've tried a steam oven. You
Right.
don't know how great it is, because we've been, the microwave came out in the 80s, and that's, I remember my mom trying to cook a whole pot roast in it one time because she thought she could. And 8 hours later, it was like the driest thing ever. But steam oven, I just think, is like one of the best things to hit the appliance market for sure.
I love what you said about the flavor transfer, about steam. That's so true. And one of the great things, not only are appliances, they're beautiful, and I like this word, but these appliances are sexy, okay? But inside, you mentioned flavor transfer. We have a special air filtration system, so I could literally cook on the top shelf a tray of garlic and then chocolate chip cookies underneath it, and take them out, and the cookies will not taste like garlic. So it's a great feature that we have along with the steaming, so that if you want to cook healthier, I don't know if garlic and chocolate chip cookies are healthy, but you could do that in here. So they look great and they cook extremely well, and even without that flavor transfer. So I love that you mentioned that.
And, so when you talked about, I'd love to go back to the graphite stainless steel. What other options are available as far as color-wise? I love the graphite. I think it's
it's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. There's a variety of different colors for our appliances. So there's custom color palette that you can select. Everything's obviously online. Behind us here on the camera, I'm looking at the corner of my eye. We have one that's white. We have one that's red. But you could take a look at our entire color palette to customize your kitchen.
That's so great, because that's what I feel like people have such personal taste. I know Amy would agree with this. Like she said, it's just, the kitchen is so personal. So it's nice to have so many options as far as, the design. And, so I know that you have finished the dish.
Yes.
And how many ingredients were in that?
So here, let's count. So we have the shrimp, the olives, the tomatoes, olive oil, salt and pepper if you want to count it, the white wine, and then some fresh parsley, or you could substitute any dry herb. Let's say you don't have fresh parsley at home, and in your dry spice rack you have some oregano, you have some thyme, or Italian seasoning. You could use that too. So 7 ingredients in here. I garnished it with a little bit of arugula that I dressed in some olive oil. Arugula tends to be a little peppery, so I don't add pepper to it. So just dress lightly in a little bit of olive oil. You can do a little balsamic on there too. So 7 ingredients, and you saw me talk my way through this recipe following the guided cooking option here. If I literally shut my mouth and just cooked, it'd be done in maybe 3 to 5 minutes.
That's what I need after a long work day, and especially if it's healthy. This is shrimp, this is olives, all the everything you want in a Mediterranean diet, which everyone should be eating. And so I believe that you do have a taste tester here.
Yes, we do. We have a virtual taste tester. I apologize, you guys can't try it. I know we teased you today, but we have a very special virtual taste tester. Her name is Tyler Raines. She is our Chicago showroom here for Dacor. Down here at the Merch Mart. If you ever happen to be in the city, you have to visit us here. It's an absolutely stunning area, lots to do. But I'd like to invite Tyler in. We have a clean plate here, some napkins for her. I'm gonna let her taste it.
I'm
Hi,
so
Tyler.
excited. Hi, Chef. Thanks, sir. Yum. Where should I start?
Anywhere, yeah.
Okay.
Grab some shrimp, grab a little salad. That's your
Okay.
plate there if you want to take it off there and kind of cut it up. The shrimp is a little bit big to eat there, but this is a great healthy dish. I love this dish because you could either make it an appetizer just by putting some shrimp on a plate. You could turn it into a complete salad, which we've done here, right, Tyler?
Yes, we have.
We've had this a few times. Or if you want this to be a complete entree, roast some vegetables or make some mashed potatoes and put on a family-style plate, lay it on the bottom, throw the shrimp on top, bring it to the dinner table. So it's great for any kind of meal that you want here.
All right, I'm gonna dive in.
All right. Tap into your inner Guy Fieri here.
It's so good.
Yes.
The tomatoes are extremely juicy. This is delicious, Chef.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Really good.
Awesome. Sorry you guys. Sorry you guys couldn't. I'll FedEx it overnight to you guys. All right. Hopefully it stays
I
warm.
am so jealous. I mean, honestly, yeah, I am going to, once I'm kind of venturing out more, then I am going to stop by your beautiful showroom. I know Amy knows how beautiful it is too.
Yeah.
And make you make this for me again.
Absolutely.
Or actually, maybe
Absolutely.
I can help because it is so easy.
Yes, you can follow the prompts. It's great to see this here live and try it out, go through the guided cooking. It's a wonderful feature that we have, but this dish is great. It's one of our favorites. We make this here often.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time. This has been so enjoyable. This is the best kind of panel I can do because I love to cook, and I think you guys are just great and wonderful, and I just so enjoy talking to you both.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Shannon. Thank you, Chef. This was great.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Have a good day, everyone. And you need to stop by the Dacor showroom at some point and just make sure Chef's there, and so he can cook for you.
I'm here 24/7. Come by anytime.
Have a good day, everyone.